Hello and welcome to yesterday's Airlines once again. After a little bit of a break, we are back with some more model announcement rankings. And first up, we have NG Models, who have just announced their April release set. It's another bumper set from NG. There are 40 models in it. However, as always, you can't please everyone. I don't think NG have had a particularly good 2024 so far, and we are still awaiting this Let Classic Be Classic phase, which I still think is going to show up, but will probably still be a couple of months away. This set is very modern, but there's a lot of good stuff in here from my perspective. Certainly, if you collect Chinese airliners or American airliners, you should probably be reasonably happy with this set. If you collect a more diverse range of airliners, especially more European stuff, then you'll probably be less happy. But there's still stuff here, I think, for everyone. So for me, this is the best set of 2024 from NG Models, and there's plenty of good stuff in it. Now, also in it is a huge amount of Ultimate Collection models. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Ultimate Collection is, then basically it's this new concept from NG where they package the model in a much nicer magnetic flip-top box with much nicer artwork. It comes with a stand, and it also comes with a little booklet usually as well. So the packaging is much nicer. The model itself is no different to a standard release. And in fact, there are a couple models in this announcement where they've got a standard release and an Ultimate Collection release. Obviously, those Ultimate Collection models typically will cost more. And that is fine and dandy, but also a little bit annoying if you don't care about the packaging. So I'm a little bit on the fence about these. I've got a couple of Ultimate Collection models. I have reviewed one already at the site, and they were great. They're great, really nice. But am I collecting boxes? Only incidentally. So I'm not that fussed about the packaging as long as the model gets here safe. So I don't know. I already spend a lot of money on model airplanes. Do I need to spend more to get nicer boxes? Probably not. And there is a huge amount of Ultimate Collection stuff in this set, more than there is standard releases actually. And there's been a bit of confusion here because not all of the artwork says Ultimate Collection on it. But my understanding is that the text list that I've seen, which has Ultimate Collection against the majority of things, is correct. So yeah, that's quite a big extra outlay potentially, especially because in this set there's quite a few models I do want to get. So not entirely sure about this Ultimate Collection malarkey, but that's what it is. Better box, stand, bit of leaflet. That's really what it represents. Okay, anyway, let's get on and have a look at these models. But before we do that, obviously, as always, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate everyone who is subscribing. Thank you very much. Check me out at Yesterday Airlines on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, yesterdaysairlines.com, the website, the hub. A huge amount of material on there and growing all the time. So please keep a lookout there for all your 400 scale model news. Okay, but let's get on and check out this pretty substantial list of models. Okay, 40 models, so that's quite a lot, but I'll try and get through them quite quickly, and there's quite a lot of duplication too, so that's not such a big problem. We're starting, as always, with the Airbuses, and the first pair up are a pair of what appear to be Qatar Airways A319s, but really a Qatar Emiri Flight ACJ 319s. They're business jets versions of the 319. Obviously, there is a huge amount of Qatar Airways being released by NG. They've made, including these two, 30 Qatari aircraft now in the scale, which is a large number for a not particularly important airline, I would say. I've talked about this quite a bit before, not particularly excited by Qatar anything. These two A319s, the difference between the two is the tail logo. One has got the enlarged oryx on the tail, and one has got the smaller oryx that fits the tail. That large oryx never really did look particularly good, but it actually works okay on the A319. But yeah, I mean, that's really the only difference I can see between the two is the size of the oryx on the tail. So yeah, I imagine that there are some people out here who will get both of these if they're collecting Qatar Airways, and surely you should be getting quite a large collection if you do by now with all these releases. But they don't do anything for me. I'm going to put both of them in workhorse. The third A319 and last one from this month is another Delta Airlines example, N371 November Bravo. And in fact, this is exactly the same registration as was just released by Geminijets. And NG themselves had released another Delta A319 just at the end of 2023. So this is effectively a re-release with a different reg, the same as the Gemini. Now, some people have spent a lot of time complaining about the window line on these recent NG Airbuses, but frankly a lot of that I think is nonsense. And when I compare photographs of the NG release next to the Gemini one, as is almost always the case, it's night and bloody day, people. Look at these two models. I mean, I don't see any real issues with the window line on this NG A319 to begin with. It's fine, I think. But then look at the cockpit printing on that Gemini example. And just look at the mould in general, the clumsiness of the nose gear, the oversized CFM engines. It's clear that the NG is the better product here by a country mile. To me, anyway. I mean, but whatever. Anyway, regardless of all of that, this model is a re-release, and so again, it's a workhorse, so nothing particularly exciting about it. Next up is an A320. This one is also American, jet blue. It's got the new spotlight colours on it. It's called Blue Yorker, which is quite a cool name actually. And this is the first time that anyone is releasing a new colours jet blue A320, or at least the first time that it's such a good. Actually, that's not quite true. I lie. Because Phoenix have announced this, but the model isn't out yet. It'll be interesting to see which one does come out quicker. So you do have the two versions, but this one actually, unlike the Phoenix one, which is wingtip fences, this one's got the sharklets. So that's the difference between those two releases. So it is still reasonably unique. And yeah, I'm still not entirely certain about this jet blue, all over blue colouring. It does look pretty cool. I think it's going to fade, like Canyon Blue did. But yeah, looks pretty good. And I'd have thought this is exactly the sort of release that a lot of American collectors would like, and I'm going to put this one up, Supersonic. Now next, we've got British Airways, one of the few European releases for this month. And this is not a model that's never been made before. It's an A320neo. The reg is G Tango Tango November Alpha. It's wearing the BA Better World scheme. This combination of blues, our most important journey yet, it says on the fuselage. And as I say, it has been made before. It has been made twice before, in fact. It's been made both by Aeroclassics and by Phoenix. And when I look at pictures of those two releases, I've got to say, they're both pretty bloody disappointing. Now, the Aeroclassics one isn't far off being a fantasy model because the colours are so far off. The tail is way too light, and the colour at the forward lower fuselage is way too blue. And as often is the case with Aeroclassics, they really just got lots of it incorrect because they're not good enough anymore. And there are overprinting issues I can see where things aren't as wide as they should be as well, and so on and so forth. And the mould has, deteriorated with that slightly buffoonish nose gear, which doesn't have a hub, but there's too big a tyre. Then you look at the Phoenix one, and they've got a lot of the livery details much better, but what have they done to the cockpit windows? It looks, rubbish. And the A320 mold itself from Phoenix is not very good either, to be honest. So neither of the existing versions are particularly good. This NG one will definitely be better than both of those. And again, I don't see any reason not to put this one up in Supersonic for those reasons, because both the models that exist showing this aircraft are not very good versions. I would personally, if I was a collector of this scheme and this airline at this time in its life, I would be replacing the earlier versions with this new one because they are very good. Now, as I said, there's quite a lot of Chinese material in this release set. And I know that's got a big turn-off for a lot of people, but probably for a lot of Chinese people, it's not. And it certainly isn't for me, because I collect Chinese airlines too. So I really like a lot of the Chinese stuff that is in this set. We'll get through this reasonably quickly, because I don't think people are going to be particularly excited about it. Not as excited as me. The first pair up are a pair of A320neos from an airline called Colourful Guizhou, or Guizhou. Yeah, I'm not sure how to say it. Colourful Guizhou Airlines. They're both in the same scheme. They're both basically copies of each other. Just the registrations are different. And it's an airline that has only been produced in 400 scale once before. There's an Embraer 190 made by jcwings, which I've got, which is really nice. And these will be good companion pieces for them. Don't really need both of them because they're both kind of the same. I shouldn't think anyone fleet collects this airline. It's so small, but it's a nice scheme. It's a more interesting Chinese airline, which is something I've been looking for more, some more range in the Chinese airlines being produced. So I think these are both really nice. I'm going to put one of them up into Supersonic, put the other one in the workhorse, because they are effectively re-releases. Next up, we've got a pair of Jinhao Airlines A321neos. One is wearing the standard schemes, which is pretty basic, and the other one is wearing what is called this Blessed Land Program colours, which is quite attractive and has, you know, a bunch of flowers on the back end of the fuselage. Both of these have been made before by HYJL Wings, and in fact I own both of them from HYJL Wings, so I don't really need them again, but those HYJL releases are much harder to find. And in fact, you may be aware that HYJL has just message that it's going to stop production, though it's a little unclear if it's just rebranding or whether it's properly stopping. But anyway, these will be much more available if you want to get them. For me, they'll both be really nice. I'm going to put them both in the High Flyer, but as I say, I've already got them, so I don't need them. Next up is Chengdu Airlines, another one of the smaller Chinese airlines. It's another A321neo. The aircraft is B32 Foxtrot 9. It's the first A321neo for the airline. Chengdu has actually had now 10 releases in 400 scale, but the majority of them have been ARJ21s. And before that, there's just been a trio of Phoenix A320s and A319s. So this is the first time we've really got a really high quality Airbus product from Chengdu or for Chengdu. This will be really nice. Definitely one I'll be getting. I'll put this one up to Supersonic as well. And equally nice, next is another Chinese A321. This one is a Capital Airlines, Beijing Capital, as it's sometimes known. And this has got a special scheme as well, which represents the Sanxingdu archaeological sites. I wish I could say something properly in Chinese. But anyway, it's a nice scheme. Again, it's quite a weird scheme. China Capital's obviously usually got a very Hainan focused scheme. This one's got this, you know, really interesting and intricate green livery on it, which looks pretty cool. I've never seen it before, actually, the release here, so it looks really nice. Again, I'll be getting this one, and it's Supersonic for me. And finishing off our Chinese run of A321s is the last A321neo here, Sichuan Airlines. This one is also in a special scheme for Wuliangye, which is a alcoholic beverage, I believe. Again, it's a nice livery. It's a different livery. It looks pretty cool. You've got these kind of oceany vibes going on here, but it clearly is a bit of product placement as well. Again, it's a great model. I'll be getting it. I'm going to put it into Supersonic. So you may not like Chinese airlines, but you can't argue about the diversity of the releases here for them, and there's some really nice schemes, and they'll be beautiful models. Now, there's one more A321 to discuss, and that one is JetBlue. It's in the new colours again, but the Spotlight version of the new colours. It's called Knock Knock Blue's there. Nobody else has announced or released this version of the JetBlue scheme as of yet. NG have made the previous new colours version with the kind of cubey squares on the back, and that looked pretty good. Aeroclass has also made it, and they were obviously good. Okay, actually, but not as good. This will be a nice companion to that, and again, if you're a JetBlue collector, I'm sure you'll be wanting to get this. So again, nothing wrong with putting this one supersonic for me either. That takes us out of the Airbus narrow bodies and into the Airbus wide bodies, and again, there are quite a few of these, and quite a few of them are Chinese as well. We start with a pair of A330-200s. They are both Air China. We're in a Star Alliance scheme, B6091 and B6093. These have been made before a few times, but quite a long time ago. I, in fact, have the Phoenix version of one of them. Aeroclassics made both of them. Phoenix made both of them. jcwings made one of them a long time ago. These will be super nice. I'm kind of tempted, but they're ultimate collections. They're going to cost more. Do I need to replace my Phoenix one? Not desperately. I'm going to put them both in the high flyer. I think they're perfectly good releases, but they have been made before, but a long time ago, and not as well as these ones will be. Next, we've got a Canadian 330, in fact, a CC330 Husky, Canadian Air Force. It looks to me to be an exact re-release of the model that was made not long ago. So I think the only difference here is that this one's going to be Ultimate Collection, so whereas the other one was standard. That appears to be the difference. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. It's a workhorse for that reason. And the next two are A330-300s, China Southern, standard colours, different engine variants though. We've got B300 uniform, and we've got B846. Again, these are Ultimate Collection, and it does strike me, again, this is a little bit odd to make these Ultimate Collection. I'm not really sure why, but maybe the Chinese market really responds to this packaging upgrade. Surprisingly, there have only been 14 other China Southern A330s, and the majority of them have been in special schemes, and you have to go back quite a long way to find one which is just in standard colours. 2017 was the last time, and that was from Phoenix. There haven't been a large number of A330-300s in standard scheme for China Southern. And I am tempted, I admit, but I actually do own a Panda Models version, which is really nice. And I don't need to replace for at least one of them, although I am tempted I need to get the other engine variant, probably stupidly. I don't think I will, but I might. Anyway, I'm going to put these both in high flyer as well. I think they're fine, but obviously for most people they won't be very exciting. Moving on to A350s, and still in China, Sichuan Airlines, yet another one of these Panda scheme A350s. I'm almost getting annoyed now because I'm tempted to get all of them. All the schemes are quite similar, but different. But I'm really running out of room for Sichuan Airline A350s. This one is registered B32F8. The aircraft is brand spanking new. In fact, it's still in storage, though it may have been delivered, in inverted commas, at the end of last year. So nobody else has announced this model yet or made it. There are two versions here, one standard package and one Ultimate Collection. They've been released as separate release numbers, but effectively it's the same thing. Yeah, actually, I'm going to put these in supersonic. I mean, I like Sichuan Airlines A350s. It's just a shame I don't have more space for them. No one else has made it. It is unique, and it's a nice scheme. So, yeah, supersonic for me. And the last Airbuses, also standard packaging and Ultimate Collection, are Air India. These are ones that had been future announced already, as I understand it. It's wearing the new scheme, VT Juliet Romeo Alpha. I actually quite like the new Air India scheme. I know it's a bit controversial and lots of people really hate it, but actually I quite like it. The same model has been announced by Aviation 400, and a different reg, VTJ Romeo Hotel, has been actually released by Phoenix, and that model is out and about. Now, as you can see from the picture here, it's a Phoenix A350, so it's a Phoenix A350 basically. It's not as good as the other A350s. To be fair, it doesn't look awful, but it's nowhere near as good as the other A350s on the market from pretty much everyone. So I think that these NG ones will be better. And again, they'll almost certainly be out before the AV400 version. I'm going to put them in supersonic. It is the best A350 on the market at the moment, in my opinion, the NG version. Okay, so that's wrapped up the Airbuses, and we move on to the Boeings. Now, there's only a couple of 737s this month, which is a little unusual. The first one up is a Batik Air Malaysia Max 8 9M Lima Romeo Golf, and this is effectively a re-release of a previous version, which was Lima Romeo Foxtrot. Don't really see any other difference here, except this one is Ultimate Collection again. So this one's a workhorse, easy to do. Next is a blank Max 10, so just the sample with a device box basically, and aerials. They've been doing this a bit recently, nothing wrong with that, but not particularly exciting either, so I'm going to put this one in workhorse 2. And joining those is another re-release in Ultimate Collection packaging, and that is the primer coloured Atlas Air 747-8F N863 GT. Now, I did see that jcwings have just released, or just about to release, their version of this, and to be honest, their one looks really cool. They've got all the panel joints and everything, so interesting comparison there. But this is just a re-release of what was a very nice model. I'm just going to put this one in workhorse 2. Moving on, we get to something that is more exciting. It is the debut of the new 757-300 mold. Now, if you haven't seen or the video that I've posted about this mold, please check that out. If you haven't read the review at yesterdaysairlines.com, then please do so. But yes, we have 5 757-300s this month from NG. We've got one United Airlines N78866, we're in the blue Evolution colours, and we've got 4 Condor versions, all wearing their new schemes but different colours. We've got Condor C in the blue, we've got Condor Sunshine in the yellow, Condor Island, I think that one's, is that the green one? I can't remember, and Condor Passion, which is the red one presumably. So DABOI, DABOJ, DABOL, DABOM. So that's going to make some German collectors happy, presumably, to be able to get all of those. Not all of those had been released before. I think only a couple of them have seen releases from Gemini. So this is the first time you can get all of the colours together, and the mould here is obviously superior to that old Gemini 753, even though that's been updated, it's still inferior to this one. These are all going to be awesome 757-300s. They're not schemes that I'm looking for myself, they're too modern, but they are all really nice. And yeah, there's no reason I can see not to put all 5 of these up in supersonic, really. They're all going to be really good. Now we move into Boeing wide body territory, and things are nowhere near as exciting here as they were just a second ago. First up, there's a 777-200. It's another United Star Alliance scheme. N794 Uniform Alpha is this one. It looks to be a re-release basically of one of the first 777s they made, N77022. Can't see any difference between those at all. I'm sure this will be nice, but it's effectively the same, and becomes the third Star Alliance version that they've made, even though the last one was actually slightly different. Yeah, it's workhorse. Also, another airline that they're re-releasing is Air Tahiti Nui. They've already made 3 previous Air Tahiti Nui 787-9s, and now we've got another couple. One is in standard scheme, and one has a 25 logo on it, which is their 25th anniversary. So that's nice, but yeah, it's a very small sticker. I've got one of the previous releases. Obviously they were popular, I'm guessing, but I don't really think we need 5 of them. So I'm going to put those in workhorse as well. Next up, a couple of Etihad 787-9s. One is A6BLZ, wearing the standard colours, and one is A6BLM with this T-Mall double L sticker on it. They're both Ultimate Collection as well. I haven't said that about a lot of the models, but almost everything has been Ultimate Collection so far in this list. What is interesting when I look back through the 32 other Etihad 787-9s is how few of them actually are in standard colours. The very first releases were by Phoenix and Gemini, So there are 3 or 4 that are, but they were made like in 2016 or earlier than that. And since then, there's been quite a few releases, but they're almost all wearing special schemes. In fact, I think they are all wearing special schemes. So the fact that they're releasing a standard colours Etihad 787, I think, is really sensible, and I think that one will be pretty popular with people. And that one probably could be supersonic, I think. But the other one is a copy of a previous release, and it's a special scheme and blah. It's not as exciting, and it's been made before quite recently, I think, by jcwings. So I'm going to put that one into Workhorse. 2 more 787s to talk about, neither of them very exciting. First one up is an EVA Air 787-10, B17813. They've made this model before, but they made B17811, and that was made in 2023, so not long ago at all. So yeah, again, it's just a re-release. Workhorse. And the next one is Saudia in their new scheme, their new retro-y scheme, but this one's got the Red Sea titles on it. This has been made very recently by Phoenix. It's been announced by jcwings, so this is the 3rd version of this. NG have released the sister ship of this wearing the now standard new colours, and that looked good. And actually the colours, I like the retro cheek line and everything, and that's nice. But this one's relatively similar, just with that Red Sea emblem and matte bit on the back of the fuselage. So I'm going to put this one into Workhorse as well. And then we end with 3 Tupolevs, 2 154s and a 204. Now the 154s are both pretty bland. First up, there's another Tarom 154B2 YRTPE. It looks effectively the same as the release that they've already done, TPB, except that I think the difference here is that anti-glare is not present on the nose. It's a very, very small difference. And I also think, maybe from speaking with a friend, that the tail logo is too small, and it should be larger, but I'd be very surprised if the model isn't already completed. And so whether they actually change that. Anyway, it's not very interesting, and there are plenty of other Tarom schemes they could and should be making. So yeah, I'm just going to Workhorse this. And likewise, the other T144 is equally pretty tedious. It's an M, it's China Southwest, and literally last month they released 2 China Southwest 154s. I can't see any difference between this one and one of those. So I was going to Workhorse it as well. And that leaves the last model, a TU204 Cubana. There have been already 4 other Cubana TU204s, though only one of them has been in passenger config. And they haven't all been in G. This one actually is unique in the sense that it's wearing the new scheme with the blue belly and blue engines. That makes it a bit more interesting, I guess. So, yeah, it does. But I'm kind of sick of seeing Cubana. I'm going to put this in Workhorse, so I don't feel mean. I feel annoyed that they're not releasing more TU204s and more interesting schemes. But that is perhaps just a very emotional reaction, and I perhaps could have made this one high 5. I'm going to put it in Workhorse. I'm kind of sick of seeing Cubana. There are plenty of other operators that are not Cuban, so not doing it for me. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this look at the NG releases. I still see a lot of people moaning about what NG are releasing for all the same tedious reasons. Oh, they're not releasing what I want. They're not releasing enough classics. That's me, though, I have to say. So, right, I admit I can be tedious too. And they're releasing too many models per month. It's like, and all the same arguments apply. You know, it can be frustrating. I agree. And if you don't like American or Chinese airlines, this batch probably isn't going to do a lot for you. But there is actually a decent diversity amongst what is on release here. And you've got to remember they're releasing a lot more models than everyone else. So even if you can discount half of this release set, as I pretty much have by putting them in Workhorse, you've still got 20 or so models which are looking pretty good and are fairly unique and are up there in supersonic or high flyers. So for me, it's a release set of two halves. Yeah, half of it I can completely ignore, and half of it I'm saying, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, so I don't think it's doing you or me any harm for them to release models that you don't necessarily want. And they're still releasing twice as many models that are really good as Gemini ever do a month, because they only produce 10 a month. You know, NG are effectively releasing as many releases as Phoenix and Gemini added together, and even perhaps a bit more than that. So they're releasing a lot of models and getting most of them out near time. So, you know, there is an element of patience involved here, I think. I hope that things will change in the sense that they'll be releasing more classics as the year moves on. Certainly they've obviously got new molds coming up, but they are producing some really cool stuff, and they are producing new molds. They've already put out the Maxes and the 757-300s this year, so there are new molds that are being integrated into their releases. Certainly the number of Ultimate Collection models is something which is a little concerning, because it does increase the costs. So not sure about that. I didn't, like I say, point out all of the Ultimate Collection models here, but if I do a quick list count of what is supposed to be Ultimate Collection from the text list, then there's 33 of these are supposed to be Ultimate Collection, which is a huge number, and I really don't want NG to move where the Ultimate Collection releases become standard because of the cost increase. They're already expensive, so the cost increase, I don't think that's really warranted just for an extra box. But that's it from me. Thanks very much, guys. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.